Man, I feel bad for Austin. I'm gonna talk about Danger Boy in a second. I'm gonna talk about Austin first because that boy hit the ground hard, and it, you just got to think for him when you think of guys, like I appreciate guys that like Austin Faulkner, and the reason I appreciate him is because it takes a lot to get up like he does. I mean, yeah, guys crash all the time. I mean, you hear people, all riders, talk about, man, I had a big crash during the week. Like, I mean, I don't know how many times I had crashes during the week. So they all tough. But yeah, I think the difference that separate most of these guys out here is upstairs. The reason why we can't quantify certain things with Cooper Webb is because I think his mind is maybe it's different than a lot of other people. And so my point with Austin Faulkner, just like Adam Cinderella, when guys like have incidents and like just these crazy things, somewhat like RJ stuff, like RJ falls, like Popcorn Man falls, but with these guys, like they have racing incidents where you've like, I'm not shocked that I saw somebody crash like that, but I'm shocked that it's him again. I'm not shocked that somebody gets tangled up going off the start in the heat race at Anaheim one, but damn, it's him. So for him to like keep coming back and make these changes, then have another one, and then almost probably have, I would say, probably the way he's riding, the best he has, maybe his whole career, but for sure, last 4 or 5 years, he's back on that form and it's finally like, okay, in his mind, okay, to change the Rhino, like for any chance for Austin to have any kind of chance, it's the same thing I feel like with Adam Cinderella. For those guys to have any chance, they got to change everything. Like you're not going to change teams because Mitch Payton, I think for Austin, like the fact that they committed behind him and he's Kawasaki, Mitch has a great team, so you don't need to change that. But you're going to have to change everything else just to feel like there is something that changed. Otherwise, I think if Austin would have crashed and he would have been in the same program, then I don't even know if it would have hit him as hard as this probably does because you'd be like, all right, maybe there's something else I can do to make a difference. Well, when you make this change and you're on form and you're like, dude, I'm gripping with my knees, I'm doing all the right stuff, whatever, and you just feel like that confidence, the way he caught up with Danger Boy and passed him in the heat race, for him to hit the ground like that, it wasn't that he crashed. It's just like the mindset of probably why he's crying if he was aware of what was going on. Probably what hurts Austin the most is the fact that like he probably feels like he can't do anything right. And no matter how confident I am, no matter how many things I do right, no matter how good I am, I just can't get through it. And for those guys to continue to fight back and come back and like line up and go through all the pain that they go through, they get hurt, they work themselves, train, do all this stuff, and then to get hurt again and to do that time and time, I got more respect for those type of riders than probably anybody. Like I see guys have speed, I see all these guys, but I'm a mental type of guy. I know how hard it is to do what we do, and the fact is, like to do that when it's just you keep getting knocked down, it is a lot of work to be put in to just get up, just to be knocked back down, and to get up again. And those guys continue to do it. It's just a lot of respect. So for Austin Faulkner, I'm bummed out. Like I know, like it just sucks. It just sucks for him on a personal level. Obviously, for our sport, I think it's better when you have somebody like Austin because don't make no mistake, like he is a talent. Like he is a rare talent, and just like his old trainer with Robbie Renard, like it's hard to see guys with that much talent, like injuries kind of knock them out to where when they're on, I seen Robbie Renard run past Ricky Carmichael all day long. Ricky will tell you, dude, when that dude was on fire, there was no one that could beat him. It was kind of like when Kevin Windham watched you go, like, dude, I can't beat him. I can't beat him. And it comes out of the middle of nowhere. It's because those guys are that good. So Austin coming back and him to hit the ground like that, that was tough to see. And so got to give him credit. I mean, yeah, I hope it's not as bad as it looks. But I think for Austin, it's just more what his mental side of things is going to be his biggest hurdle probably bigger more than ever right now, it's going to be his mental and trying to come back because of all the things that he changed and where he was and the level he was on. That just hurts. We go back to like what ended up causing the crash. And when I first started this, I said Danger Boy, and it's kind of started in the heat race when Hayden ran it into him, and when Austin was faster, and some people don't like it, whatever. Well, kind of like with Cooper Webb, I do believe like Hayden's starting to create a sense of like just his presence changes things. And the reason I say that is because you saw how Austin ran past him in the heat race. He ran him down like he was clearly faster. Hayden, tried running in, but Hayden was just sticking with him in the main event, and it was starting to get later and later. And I don't. Austin was faster, but I think Hayden just being there made Austin have to, probably ride harder than he wanted to, and he knew that if Hayden got close to him, that he probably would run it in and probably take him out this time because it's for a main event. So I believe when you watch Austin come out that corner, when those guys were in that sand section, when those guys were getting that double, there was two things happening. When guys were hitting that rhythm section, and when you watch Austin come out, these guys were doing two different things. A lot of the guys were like landing off that single out of that sand section, picking up the front end and wheeling into that jump over that little hump, and then basically using the compression of the suspension to rebound to basically hype them up or jump over that next tabletop. And otherwise, if they couldn't do that, then they wouldn't even wheelie. They would actually kind of scrub that jump and actually just use their body weight to like hype, like push them up so they can get the rebound to go over that double. Well, the reason why I kind of go back to with the Hayden thing and his presence, if you watch when Austin's coming out of that corner, like he's spinning, and he's committed. He's going to wheelie, but his back tire is spinning. So when you look at him, he doesn't to get that jump to be able to wheelie into that and let the rebound spring up. You have to have the front end like up high enough to where it actually slaps down to somewhat bottoms out, and then the whole bike goes down and it springs up. Well, when Austin's coming out that corner, like he's spinning and he's leaning back and he picks the front end up, but it's only up somewhat halfway to where he probably wants it at. And so what's happening is he's driving forward. So even though he's spinning, he's driving forward and he's driving into that jump to where what was going to happen when he gets into it, his bike's not going to react the way he wants it to. So he needed to be up like this, let that thing drop in that little hole and spring up. Well, when he's spinning, it doesn't drop into it. So it actually goes in and his bike doesn't fully compress. So when it doesn't compress, it actually reacts kind of what we saw with Tomac, when he blew his Achilles out. It was a dead feeling. And when it gets that feeling, Austin goes through the jump instead of up. And in that high speed section, the only way you were going to hit the ground is actually if you went through it to where you didn't get enough height to get over the backside of that tabletop to get in that little goalie to be able to go that triple. Well, Austin actually went through the thing. So he was going forward, and when he clips the backside of that jump, throws his weight forward, and two things go wrong here. One, the height, he didn't get enough height. He needed to be up more so he can actually get into that goalie. But I think one of the things that Austin's been really, trying to change this year is with his technique, is by gripping with his knees. Rhino's been talking about unlocking hips and gripping with his knees, and that's right. Like, yeah, you want to do it. We talked about Chase. We said some of his crashes. But I believe when you look at Austin, when he lands and he gets kicked, he's still gripping with his knees. So he's still doing what Rhino is telling him, form still correct. But what ends up happening with him is like as he's doing that, it makes his whole body stiff. And so when his body's stiff, he's locked in on his motorcycle. When his butt gets hit, he's gripping with his legs. It pushes all his weight forward. When all his weight goes forward, that's when he gets into that G out part and his hand comes off. Why his hand comes off? Because all the weight is being pushed up, and the only thing that he's holding on is the only thing that's really going forward is his upper body blows his hands off. In that situation, the only thing Austin had a chance to do to be able to save it is do the opposite of what he's been told to do. Like he would want to land off that and actually somewhat open his legs to allow his body to absorb that and actually hit the brakes. Like, yeah, you would want to hit the brakes in that spot because otherwise you're going way too fast. Your bike's not set up to hit that. Like clearly, like your bike ain't like 2x4s. So the front end ain't going to hold up in that. And if you're holding on by your legs, you're going to get kicked in the rear end, which is the reason why you're in this situation anyway, because you didn't get the height. The back end hits you, you're locked in, and all your weight goes forward. What you want to do is almost use your body to somewhat slow that motorcycle down to where when the bike hits, instead of allowing it to kick in your butt, you want it to allow you to, I guess, kick in your butt, but not be stiff. So it actually hits you and you use your body to like soak it up to where your weight doesn't go forward, because that was the only way he was going to save it. So when he doesn't do that and he's locked in on his knees, his whole body goes forward instead of him trying to like soak it up, and then the rest is history. So I think for Austin, it was going to be a tough hit anyway. And it all started by him not being able to get the lift that he needed to because he was spinning coming out of the sand. I think a part of Austin probably wouldn't have went for it if Hayden wouldn't have been as close as he was, because Hayden was there and he was closing in. And if he wouldn't have been able to hit that triple, that rhythm section right, Hayden probably would have passed him. So I believe that's why Austin still went for it. So that's where the Hayden being present situation comes in. But nonetheless, it's a lot of things that was happening like really quick, and it's easy to Monday quarterback this thing. But in that situation, like you want to do everything to slow down, and you want to allow your body to try to help you absorb as much as you can this impact that you're about to go. Because being stiff, nothing's going to stop you from that. Like there is nothing you're going to be able to do unless besides slowing down and letting your body soak that thing up. There's nothing you got to do. You're going to hit the ground because no bike is set up for, and it's kind of it's a tough situation for Austin to be in. So when he goes down, you can see it coming. Like you can see him out of the sand. You knew he had too much speed into it, but Austin tried his best. There was nothing he was going to do. The way he was attacking that, he was going to hit the ground, and the rest was history. So it's a tough one for him, but hopefully he's somewhat all right. And but I know this was going to be a hard one physically and mentally for him to come back from.